I decided I need a better intro. You know, I'm still working on the hoplites to get behind me here. I decided that this whole thing of me sitting there going was getting old fast. So the swords came out. I better put it down. I'll probably hurt myself. And I'm back. So let's talk about the Maychian faction, okay? In the core set of Torn Armor, there's going to be two factions. I've already spoken about the Sisk. They're the Romans, Greek, hoplite-like dudes conquering over the world. The Maychians. So, some time ago, two worlds collided. This world was one of them. They are now still permanently at rest, touching each other. There's a huge area, a maelstrom of energy, that is literally tearing both planets apart, and that's where the two of them are still touching. Well, when they hit each other, they actually transferred material. And some of that material were creatures. And those creatures are the refugees, even though they don't know they're refugees, that we refer to affectionately as the Maychians. Because this world is ancient, but really still in its infancy, because it's been reborn only literally 2,000 years ago, they're somewhat almost post-apocalyptic. And so they're really just getting out there, discovering the other continents. Enter the Maychians. So think what the Spanish did to the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Inca back in that unfortunate sort of 17th century, 18th century-like period. And you'll get an idea for what is happening now that the Sisk have just discovered the Maychian continents in the north. Ooh, new lands, barbarians, riches, resources, slaves. That's what's going on. The beautiful thing about the Maychian faction, the hallmark, is their anthropomorphic creatures. I'm talking about little mouselings, little ratlings, serpent folk, monkey folk, bears, and there's this massive race that are the dominant race. We call them felis. They're basically all of the species of cats, panthers, tigers, lions, you name it. What that means is it creates adorable looking miniatures, something that's very, very unusual, you know. You got this entire continent sort of string with all of the surrounding islands and everything, where these races are predominant. There are no elves, there are no dwarves, there are no humans. It's these anthropomorphic creatures. And they still have a lot of the Egyptian Mayan-like look about them. So it really ties in, and it ties in with the gods, the law, and gives them this great, almost barbaric, low technology like feel, you know, while visually they're incredibly interesting to look at. Traits of the Maychian faction. Firstly, they tend to have more of them in a unit. So instead of, let's say, the hoplites, which will be 4 or 5 in a hex, the Maychians might be 6, 7, or even 8 little miniatures in a hex. So they can actually be harder to kill from the point of view that you have to kill more of them. Downside is they tend to be a little bit less armoured. So they're actually pretty easy to beat down with your hoplite spear. Fantastic. Their counterpoint to the Sisk golems is to come up with elemental golems. They tend to be lighter, they can't go toe-to-toe, but they tend to have better range capability, they're a little bit faster moving, and let's face it, on a battlefield, speed is everything. Will it be enough for them? Who knows? The magic users tend to be a little bit more offensive rather than a defensive Sisk. The Sisk can heal themselves a lot more easier and sort of buff and debuff, while the Maychians tend to be more offensive. Fireballs, lightning bolts, that type of thing. They have a great alliance with some very large creatures, and that will be one of those special creatures that I'm going to introduce you to next week. So, overall, they're fast, nimble, tend to be in large numbers. They're a little less worthy of going toe-to-toe, but they have slightly better range capabilities, but conversely their technology is lower. What will that mean? Fairly even side so far, right? So, will you support the Maychians, who are currently being oppressed and simply fighting for their survival, and just to survive on this world? Or will you go for the Sisk? The Sisk are simply trying to bring harmony to the world. They're simply trying to absorb the barbarians. There's probably another word for that. Brings the Borg to mind. Maybe we're trying to assimilate them. I say we because I'm a total Sisk fan. I love the Empress. All hail the Empress. So, until then, which faction will you choose? Who will you fight for?